Hey everyone, welcome in. What's good? What's good? Welcome to the Healthy Mentality. I am your host, RMZ, also known as Charles, my birth name. I want to thank you for being here tonight. Please kick up your feet, make yourself at home. If you haven't already, please take a moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons. And if you're watching on a mobile app, throw some hype my way. All of it helps the channel to grow. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Hopefully in the next couple months, we'll see. Now, don't forget there are two GLP-1 meetups coming up. First one is in Atlanta on June 27th, and then there's one in Dallas on October 17th. You can check the link in the description of this video for details and to purchase your tickets. And as a reminder, I have partnered with Fridays. If you're uninsured, underinsured, or branded GLP-1s just aren't in the budget, Fridays has you covered. They offer compounded GLP-1s, which are at accessible prices with no membership fees, and include lab work, unlimited provider visits, nutrition coaching, dietitian support, and live workout programs. They also provide access to TRT and powerhouse supplements like Samorlin and NAD+, plus a meal delivery system. You can use the link in the description of this video and the code RMZ to get a discount on your first order. Now, before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I am not a healthcare professional, and neither is my guest. Nothing, and I mean nothing shared here is medical advice. We're simply sharing our personal experiences and perspectives. Please consult your healthcare team before making any changes to your treatment or your routine. At the end of the show, we'll have a live Q&A. If you have a question, drop it in the comments and start it with 3Qs so I can easily filter and find it. And if you're a man looking to come on and tell your story, email me at roundmoundzep@gmail.com. You can find the email address scrolling across the bottom of the screen in the ticker. With that said, please join me in welcoming tonight's guest, my man Kev. Kev, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, buddy. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You want to introduce yourself
Excellent.
to the people?
Certainly. Well, this is new to me. My name is Kevyn Jefferson, and I am a 58-year-old African American man who was just trying to make certain that I'm doing some things to be around for a little while. Going into this next decade of my life, I just felt that it was important to try to find some things that would work for me in my health and wellness, and just trying to navigate that, get through that, and actually happened upon Charles's page and saw some information about GLP-1s, and I'll talk a little bit more about that this evening about my journey with GLP-1s because it's relatively new. But just to see that there were other men that were involved in trying to use GLP-1s as a tool, and I want to talk hopefully about tonight about why it's important to know that diet and exercise and the tool itself of GLP-1 are all things that you have to use in concert to try to make progress. So hopefully we can get into that tonight.
Absolutely. So let's kick this thing off. I appreciate you being here. We've been connected for a while on social media, on TikTok and Instagram. So I'm excited to have you here to tell your story. So let's take it back to the loss that started everything for you. Your best friend, your cousin had a stroke and he lost his life. What was that moment like for you?
So I told you this prior to us coming on tonight that my cousin's name was Charles. And when you proposed the date to me, it kind of was like a divine situation because I knew the day April 7th was his birthday. So today would be his 59th birthday. So he did not make it to his 50th birthday. And his loss actually took place around this time. He died a month and a day after his birthday. So since he experienced he was having some health challenges, and I went to the hospital to see him during this spring break week just to kind of spend some time with him. And the stroke was kind of severe because it impaired his speaking, and he had to learn how to do some things with one side of his body. And again, he was, I think, 46 or 47 when this happened. Got out, even drove himself to the hospital. He was hilarious. He drove himself to the hospital after having the stroke. He was at home by himself and got into his car, literally hit his mailbox going out of the driveway to get to the hospital. So he took himself to the hospital. They literally had to bring him out of the car to get him into the hospital. And so he stayed a week. They found out, the severity of the stroke. But then there were some concerns with he didn't have medical insurance. So there were some things that they were trying to get, like blood thinners and some other things that they were trying to get for him to use so that he could get back into, on his way back to health, and send him home. And like I said, about a month and a day later, right after his birthday, he passed away. And it was devastating because I live in the Atlanta area now. We moved to the Atlanta area together right after college just to come down here to pursue what it was. They say everybody go to Atlanta. That's where the, that's where the promised land is. So we all
Yeah.
came down after in the '90s, late '90s, and to establish ourselves and to start careers and things of that nature after college. So he was my road dog. We came to here together. Once I got married, he moved on and did he started his life, I started mine. So and there was another friend of ours, she came down with us as well, and we all had our lives going on, and then all of a sudden that happens. And so it just really impacted, I think, a lot of us, where we felt like life is but a vapor. Things can happen very quickly and change on a dime. So it really caused me to think about my own health and what I was doing that I might need to change in order to stick around and just to live my best life.
Yeah. And I can imagine the type of impact that it had on you. I have cousins that are more like brothers. We came up together. We ran the streets together. So I can imagine that had a profound impact on you.
Indeed, indeed.
And,
And like
how
you
did?
said, we were,
Go ahead.
oh, like you said, we were like brothers, and um, we just grow. We went to high school together and then to college together, and we're in some of the same groups and things of that nature. So it was there was a bond there. And so when that happened, it just really kind of like, it shook me for a minute. I'm thinking, golly, he was a great guy. He was, nothing, didn't have any. He was about 6'4". Got to a point where, however, in his health, he had gained quite a bit of weight, and so it was difficult for him to get around and to do the things that the doctors were asking him to do. But he was making this pledge. He said, if once I get out of here, I'm going to do what I need to do and make certain, that all the things I need to do, I get those things done. And, I want to get myself back to where I need to be. So, we thought we were going to make that pact and help each other. And, I said, I can come over, we can walk, we can do some things. And that just didn't happen. Just didn't happen.
Now, how soon? Remind me again. How soon from the time that he had the stroke to his passing?
It was about a month. So he had
Mm,
the stroke right before his, I think it was 46th or 47th birthday, somewhere in there. And the way that I found out is that we used to, after our lives got going, the only time that we really kind of talked was birthdays and significant things that would come over and do stuff for our kids and stuff like that. So I texted him on his birthday to say, "Hey, man, it's your birthday. I'm just giving you your morning text," and he didn't respond,
mm.
which I thought was really strange because he was like, if you knew anything about him, he was all about birthdays. He was a true Aries. He enjoyed everything you know, about birthday. He would celebrate the entire month. So when that happened, I was like, something's not right. And then later in the day, one of his good friends texted me back and said, he had a stroke and wasn't doing well, and so we need you guys to come over and kind of check on him. And so we did. My wife and I immediately we went over, spent some time with him. She kind of dealt with doctors for him and stuff like that because he's a single man. He didn't have any family that was here other than you know extended family like us. So we kind of rallied around him and tried to make sure that we had everything together to kind of help him so he could get back home and do what he needed to do. So it just happened so quickly. And I mean, like literally it spun on a dime and he was gone. So
Yeah.
it was profound for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, you guys were looking forward to your celebrating your 50th birthdays, right? And what was
Yeah,
that?
he was a
What was?
huge, yeah, he was a huge guy about celebrations. And I knew that 50th was going to be huge for him.
Mm,
So we were thinking that, he's probably he had a large party every year for his birthday, but I knew for his 50th, he would do something. So, in honor of that, I decided that, like I said, well, he's not here, but I want to do something to honor him. So I started to try to get myself together, by wanting to walk a 5K. I knew I wasn't going to be running it. I might be walking it, walking and then jogging a little bit, but I wouldn't be running it. But I did think that I could get myself together enough so I could participate in an event, a 5K event. And so that's what I did with the help of some friends. I'm an educator, so I have a lot of good friends that are teachers and administrators and things of that nature. And so we got a walking club together at school and walked in the afternoons after school for several years. And that kind of became the impetus for, me trying to get myself together because I had gained so much weight. Didn't realize I hadn't gotten up to almost 388 pounds. And I'm like, whoa, dude, you're like pushing 400 pounds. And it just, that was over the years and with family and living life and working late, and eating late and habits and, you're forming habits that you probably shouldn't be sustaining, but you do. So all that started happening at the same time. And that kind of created, my life to be what it was. And so after his situation, I really did want to try to do some things to help myself to get back on a path of just being a little bit more health conscious.
Now the passing of Charles, you mentioned as a primary motivator for you pivoting and taking your health serious. How has that stayed with you over the years to keep you motivated?
Well, first of all, like I said, the first thing that I did, Charles, was start walking a great deal because I knew it was something that I could do, I could sustain. And to be quite honest, I knew that if I walked a neighborhood, if I walked a mile or walked 20 minutes or 30 minutes, the only way back was to walk back. So it made sense to me to do something like that. All I needed to invest in was a good pair of sneakers and, just get out there and walk. And eventually I started to walk with some other friends that I have at school. And we have a popular hiking trail here, actually a hiking park called Kennesaw Mountain Park. And so we go there frequently in the summers and walk trails, 3 to 4 mile trails and 5 mile trails and uphills and things of that nature. So I wanted to get to a point where I could sustain myself getting up the mountain, and I was able to do it over a series of years. And so that really kind of helped me to maximize my health journey. And at one point I had lost up to 50 pounds and then COVID hit. And then when COVID struck, it kind of, slowed everything down and I gained back about 35 to 40 pounds. And so after that is when I really kind of said, this weight thing is something that I've dealt with for the majority of my adult life. So I knew that it was something that I needed to get a hold of. And so that's really why I started doing what I needed to do to try to get a hold of that. But a good thing was that I had a good doctor, a good general practitioner who was a black doctor, a black male doctor, and was one of the first black male doctors I've ever had. And Dr. Kwame Fiakapornu is his name. We just called him Dr. Kwame. But he started to talk to me about numbers and the importance of knowing what A1C is and having your A1C under a certain amount, and even talking about blood pressure and how important that was. And so, that's why I'm on this crazy kick about black men going to the doctors. Men in general, we don't go to the doctor enough, and and what we need to understand is that it doesn't have to be scary. You can have conversations with individuals about your health and know what you need to do to just tweak things. You don't have to do everything all at the same time.
Yeah.
You just have to make small sustainable changes. And that's what really made the difference for me. Like, I was just talking to my son about this the other night, actually today, about how drinking water became something that I did a lot of with, I've always got my water enhancer. Yeah. So, I just drink a lot of water now because I wanted to eat my calories. I didn't want to drink them.
Yeah.
So that was one of the small things that I began to do initially that really helped me to, keep things off. And, also with the movement, I think the movement coupled with some of those changes really kind of helped me the first go round.
Yeah. Now, Kev, you mentioned to me in our correspondence on email when you were telling me your
Hmm.
story that you were nervous stepping on the scale and it's saying 388. What was that moment like when when you see that number on the scale? How does that impact you?
It jarred me. It jarred me. I mean, because like I said, I've always been, the bigger guy. I'm about 6 foot, and you know, I was at 280 and then 300, and then after college, you know how that goes. You get married, you start having kids, and priorities just kind of change.
Yeah,
But when and I just didn't realize that it had gotten that out of hand. And
yeah,
then when I stepped on that scale and saw that, I'm like, oh no, we can't go out like this. It just was jarring. It was really jarring for me, and I felt like, okay, this is this is my wake up call. I've got to do something that's going to slow this train
yeah.
because this is not sustainable. It's just not. I just knew that having that much weight on my body was not going to be good. And
Now,
it's still been a journey for me. So we'll
yeah,
talk about that, I'm sure.
yeah, definitely. Now, were you someone that was avoiding scales? So was this a surprise, or did you gradually see the numbers going up, or was there a period of time where you just avoided scales and you stepped on it and it's like, man,
And Charles, I think it was a combination because I've always been somebody that enjoys um, dressing and clothes and stuff like that, and I would buy um, clothes, in a variety of different sizes. And I've always had my mother and my mother-in-law love shopping, so they'd always buy things, and they always had big guys in their family. So it was either myself or husbands or my cousin. They were always buying things for us, so we always had clothes.
yeah,
But I got to a point where I'm like, geez, these belts are getting pretty huge, and so it started to be like, I gotta do something different because I couldn't mask it anymore. It was
yeah,
just you're trying to do basic things like bend down and tie your shoes, um, and it became increasingly more of an issue. And so I knew that I had to do something, and I had to do something that would be drastic enough for me to change.
yeah. How did 388 feel in your day to day life? Your energy levels, your movement, your activity.
All of it was hindered by the weight. It really was. There are things that I just couldn't sustain. Walking upstairs, or walking from one part of a parking lot to a building. Where I would feel winded, or doing things that might have required movement in the classroom, or in the at a school, in the school setting. You walk a lot as a teacher. You do a lot of support for different things, and so you start to feel how that can be a hindrance, and you don't want it to be something that impacts others. And I felt like, am I giving my all? Or am I doing all that I need to? Or am I having to, give me 15 minutes, let me sit down and do this before I go and do this? And it started to become something that was a little bit too restrictive for myself. And I felt like, I've got to do something. I've got to change somehow. And sometimes it's just finding out what things you can change, because like they say, you don't one day look up and get to be 388 pounds by you know just doing the same. Well, it is the same thing, but what I'm saying is that that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
that happens through a series of things and choices, and things that we do to get us to that point. And we talked about this offline. I enjoy cooking. I always have. Food is always something that's been celebrated in our culture and in our family. So if we have a celebration, we're gonna have a great deal of food, or we're gonna everything was surrounded about or centered around those types of things, those celebrations. And so it's even the mindset that I had about food, and the it being not just associated with celebrations or nourishment. It was more, it was rewards. And I was one of the type of people, my wife would tell me all the time, everybody would go to bed, and then I would be downstairs by myself and that's when I pop out the Oreos or the ice cream or the,
Yeah.
those types of things, because that was my private time. I felt like that was my time to indulge for me. But then those things, eating so late, put a lot of pounds on me. It really did. So
Let me tell the chat that he mentioned the food that we was talking about. I was telling him he was challenging the ability of my 10 milligram pen to suppress my food noise. The way he was describing the food that he made this weekend as he was entertaining guests. Of course, he couldn't eat it all, but he was talking about some
right.
some 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 smothered turkey wings, some honey baked ham, and all that other stuff.
Yeah, the
Um,
list goes on. We enjoy entertaining in our house. So,
yeah,
usually this is the place where people come for at least one of the significant holidays. Usually we do Easter, and then we do a smaller thing for Thanksgiving, and then something for Christmas as well. So it's just, everybody comes up. People call me and say, "Hey, are you doing Easter?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're doing Easter. Y'all can come on over." It's one of those things, right?
yeah. But the challenges you were talking about the movement in a larger body, because I was 358 at my heaviest, and
That still amazes me. And when I go
yeah,
back and look at your thumbnails, I'm like, wow,
yeah. But
tremendous,
but
tremendous, man.
walking up the stairs in my house, I had a split level house, so 3 levels, and going from either coming from the mid level to the master bedroom, or especially coming from the lower level all the way up to the top. Man, I'm getting to the top and I'm gasping for air,
Winded, huh? Yeah.
winded. I had to
Hmm.
go to the doctor because something had to be wrong, because I couldn't. Something was wrong with my lungs, because this ain't supposed to be happening to me. I was in
Not to
denial.
me.
Yeah, I was
Right.
in denial. I was an athlete. I can't be huffing and puffing
Right.
just walking up the stairs. So they
Right.
did.
Right.
So they did air tests on me and everything. But and that totally resonates with me and what you're talking about there. Um, so let's talk about your walking. You were walking 4 to 5 times a week, and you
When I
mentioned,
started, yes, I
yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and you mentioned that you chose it because it was something easy for you to do. So how's that going for you now?
I still walk. Now it's about 3 times per week. I've kind of dialed back a little bit because it's been several years since I've been on this health kick now. So I try to do things that are sustainable. What I've added recently is a good buddy of mine who is my barber, Dwight Little. Shout out to Doc. He's been talking to me for years about making sure that, hey man, you need to get in and do some strength training. You need to get some weights in there, man,
Hmm.
because you're a big dude, but you could put on some size that you got in that gym. And I'm like, okay, but I know now, being a man of a certain age, that strength training is really, really important. And so now I've kind of embraced that the last 2 years. And I do see a lot of things that are changing on my body now. I don't do, I'm not in there lifting, power lifting. That's not me. But what I am doing is trying to be really, really intentional about lifting 2 to 3 times per week with repetition. I've got dumbbells, I've got kettlebells, and so I try to incorporate those types of things into 30 to 45 minutes per session when I work out. So it's going to be a little cardio, and it's going to be more of a shift to more weights that I've been doing the last couple of years, and it really has kind of impacted. It's kind of recompositioned my body. It's slow,
Yeah.
but I can tell. That's the other thing I wanted to be. When I was walking and getting groceries and stuff, I'm like, good lord, it's like I was picking up small babies and
Yeah.
being winded. So I could feel like my strength was dwindling too. So I didn't know if it was testosterone. It's probably some of that too. I'm sure that is, as you get older, that kind of happens. But I knew that if I didn't focus on strength training, then I would definitely feel the effects of that. So that was important to make sure that I had that incorporated into my regimen as well.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're incorporating strength training into your workout routine, because that's so critical on this journey. Not only this journey, but just any health journey, to maintain
Right,
your
right.
your metabolism, to help your bone health
Hmm.
and all of that. So that's I applaud you for doing that. So
Yeah, yeah.
at your peak of walking, you had built up to 20 miles a week, I think it was. And
Hmm.
how did you build up to that? Was it something that, you started every other day or walking half a mile or?
There was there's a we have the great thing about Georgia. There are a lot of parks in our county. So there's a park that's very very close to the school that I work at, that I could, I would pack a bag. I had to be intentional about it because that was very important. So I would get my gym bag, pack it the night before, knew that after school, I would have some protected time where I would just leave and go change and go walk in this park. And the park has specifically this park that I used to frequent, and I still do. It's just different. Uh, Going into the spring, I do more, of course, than downward in the winter. But this park specifically has a trail around the perimeter of the park that is exactly a mile. So if you do 3 laps, or 3 times around the park, that's 3 miles. And so that would be my intention, to go at least 3 times, 3 to 4 times a week. And I could do three, and easily do 3 miles there. But at school, because I do so much walking at school in between classrooms and things, I can get 2 miles in there. So by the time I get home, it's usually about, I've got my 5 miles or 5 to 6 miles in. So it was easy to get that done, just because I was intentional about going to the park at least 3 times a week.
Now, were you using something to keep your mind off of the act of walking, like listening to music or podcasts, or were you just out
That's
there
exactly what I
going?
do. No,
Yeah.
I definitely, I've got, my kids and my wife always make fun of me because I'm always buying headsets. I got small earbuds. I got these. I got all kinds of things. But it really does help me to kind of put me in a zone. And I get out there, and I really found out, now I understand why people enjoy grounding so much and
Yeah.
how important it is. I really felt like the being outdoors and getting the vitamin D, the sun, was really good for my mood. As a matter of fact, when I really started getting into it, and if I would miss a workout, my wife would say to me, "What's wrong with you? Did you work out today?" So I would be like, "Oh, I forgot. I didn't do that." So she would kind of keep me grounded by saying, and that does help you. I think that helps you mentally as well. And I think she was right.
Yeah.
It was something that just kept me in a good headspace. And so that's why I still do it to this day, because I think it's something that, like I said, I've been using this, I know, a lot tonight, but it's protected. The time is protected. It's your time to, how we, all the cliche things that self care is not selfish. You can be selfish about making it happen for yourself, because if you pencil it in, or you say, I'm going to do this, or you're intentional about making sure that you get that time in, then it becomes something that you don't want to cancel. You wouldn't cancel on yourself if it were somebody else that you had made time to meet with. So protect the time as if it were something that you were doing for somebody else.
I love that. I
That's
love
how
that
I see it
approach.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that approach. So, how long did it take for you to lose that first 50, and what was your diet like at this time? Because this is all pre GLP-1, right?
Right. This is all pre GLP-1. So I think it took about, to be quite honest, it's about a year and a half to 2 years. I didn't even realize how it was coming off, because I was just so, you know, geared and in step with making it happen, or doing the work, that I didn't realize how much it had changed me. So, if you start having other people come up to you and say, "How you losing weight? You look like you're losing weight. You're looking really good." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." So I just didn't realize, how as the process was going, that things were changing like they were. But yeah, it's about a year and a half to 2 years where it just kind of like, it was the consistency of it. It was just small things that I was doing all the time, and I think that really spurred it on and made it happen within that time frame.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about COVID, because COVID tripped a lot of people up, myself
Right.
included. I think I gained 50 pounds or so during COVID. I I was obese. I was trying to protect myself from getting from contracting COVID, and I didn't want to give it to my
Sure.
wife because my wife has lupus, so she's immunosuppressed. And
Mm,
so, we stayed in our bubble. I'm stressing about
hmm
all these things. I have easy access to my refrigerator because I'm working from home for a year and a half. I can go into the pantry and get all the treats I want. I'm not walking. I canceled my gym membership, and so I'm just home. So I'm putting on all
Yeah.
this weight and stress eating and all of that. How did it impact you?
Everything that you just said,
Yeah,
ditto.
yeah,
On top of that, at the time, my mother-in-law was living with us at the time as well, and so it was really incumbent upon us to kind of keep her safe and to make sure that she was okay. So so I'm cooking all the meals. I'm making sure that she's got the meals that she needs, and the kids have what they need, and the dogs have what they need. So, it was just, the only time we would go out is to get groceries. And do you remember when we had to keep the groceries outside and
yeah,
all that stuff before you would bring them
yeah,
into the house? And it was a crazy time, man. It just almost seems like, it was something that
yeah,
was in a book somewhere. But yeah, all that stuff that you mentioned, they closed schools the 13th of March, and we were home, and so it was all those things happening together, and like you said, whatever everything was happening in the house. So
yeah,
your meals, your snacks, anything that you needed was right. It was readily
yeah,
at your disposal. But that's why it became really important for me towards the end of that to have a home gym, and that's when we started to kind of put one together for. I'm really thankful for my family, my wife, and my sons. They really kind of worked because they knew it was important to me. So they cleared an area downstairs in our basement and said, we're going to make you a home gym. And slowly but surely we bought a couple of dumbbells here. We bought kettlebells. Once one Christmas, my son bought a weight bench for me. The next Christmas, he bought a whole, the whole gym thing. I don't know what it is. You got the extensions and you can
yeah,
do all that stuff. I mean, it's a basic one, but he got it for me, and he wanted to make sure that I had that. So they all kind of worked with me because they knew that it was important to me to keep doing things that would keep me active and keep me on my path. So that was important, and I think that when you have people in your corner like that want to see you do well, then you're kind of motivated from that end. But I will have to say this: if you don't find the wherewithal inside of you to do it, nobody can change it.
yeah, yeah,
You've got to find something that motivates you to do what you need to do, to make it happen. Because if you don't make it happen, nobody can make it happen for you.
yeah. That's the truth. That's the truth. 100%. So during this time, you regained 35 pounds. When did you realize that happened and you pretty much undone everything that you did as far as the weight loss goes?
Right. I mean, here again, I went by one of those mirrors and said, wow, what happened? It just gradually came back, and and I think it was kind of everything got relaxed. The time and attention that you paid to going outdoors and doing things that would support your wellness journey, they just relaxed, and I wasn't doing as much as I could to support myself in that regard. So I had to find my way, and it happens to a lot of people. There are so many people that I follow on Instagram, or so on social media that have done things where they undo what they've done. 50 or 60 pounds. It's so easy. Hey, I mean, hey, we're all first
Yeah,
partakers in that, my
yeah,
brother. So, it's so easy. But what I'm finding out now is that you've got to be consistent about the things that you do overall. Like, there are things that you, like the whole thing about never eating carbs again. People, that's just unrealistic.
yeah,
You can't do that.
yeah,
You can find low carbs. You can find carbs that, because I'm a pasta guy. I love pasta. I'll do pasta 9,000 ways. But you can find different ways to eat pasta. You can do spaghetti squash, or you can do protein pasta. I mean, not to say that I do it all the time, but I have done that. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, you start to, that's what the GLP-1 did for me.
Yeah.
It really, I know we were talking about this before, Charles, but it really took that food noise away.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. And it was only because, to be quite honest, I had a couple of family members that had been on GLP-1s. My wife had done it at the request of her doctor, who was the doctor that we both see, Dr. Kwame, to help her because she's pre-diabetic, and to be quite honest, I was as well. And then my mother had also been on Ozempic. She's been on it almost for about 2 years now. She's lost over 100 pounds,
Oh wow.
and so yeah, so it's been tremendous to see her journey, and she's just slowly, you know, she'll be 80 in May. So she's been on this journey for about 2.5 years because she's had a lot of back injuries and things of that nature over the years. And so that really has helped to minimize some of her back pain. She still has tremendous back pain, but at least she's able to move and do things a little bit more because she's lost so much weight. So when I saw her success and I saw my wife's success, and my wife kept saying, well, you know, you don't want, you just want this because it's, you know, I'm like, no, I think that I kind of need something to help me, a tool to get me back to, you know, to a place where, you know, I'm able to move a little bit better and do what I need to do. Because I don't see GLP-1 as the an easy way out.
Yeah.
I see it more as a tool that you use in order to get to where you need to get to. That's at least in my estimation of what it is, and I think that, and I wanted to talk about this tonight. About I think there's still a stigma, specifically when it comes to men and GLP-1s, because I think that some people feel that, like I said, one way is it's an easy way out. Secondly, I don't think men are as readily uh, are as ready to talk about weight loss management with their doctors. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think they feel like, you know, if I hit the gym, you know, I add a couple of more stacks to this weight, that'll get it done. But you know, you get to a place where there are some things that you just need some assistance with, and I think the GLP-1 is one of those things that can help in that regard.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame and stigma around men using these GLP. I mean, for the community at large, but men, there's a lot of shame that we have because we're supposed to be ironclad and be able to just go into the gym and rip it out and lose the
Right,
weight, you know, and have mind over
right,
matter. But there's a
right,
biological aspect of it that people aren't accounted for that these medications
right,
help to regulate so we can
right,
get the weight off, you know. But
right.
hopefully,
And I think now,
that's the
I th-
purpose of this platform right here is
right,
to break that
right,
stigma so we can talk about this openly and other men can see us having these discussions and maybe it'll pique their curiosity and they'll start having these
hmm
conversations with their doctors and our medical providers and not just about GLP-1 use but men's health in general, all aspects of it.
indeed, indeed, yes, yeah. I think it's important for us as men to, like I said at the beginning of this, to have conversations with your medical providers or your doctors to say, look, I'm sluggish, or, you know, I just don't have the energy that I had before. I mean, we have to be open and honest with those individuals so that they can, you know, kind of assess what's going on.
Yeah.
But if we're not gonna be honest about it, then it becomes more of a hindrance for you personally. You know, if you're not going to, you know, lay all your cards out on the table and say, this is where I am. The doc, I mean, and you know, I've heard you say this before. You can get a second opinion if you're not feeling comfortable with a person, or, you know, or their bedside manner. You can go somewhere else. You
Yeah.
can find out. I mean, you are the patient, and you can drive and advocate for yourself. So if you need to get that process somewhere else, where you feel more confident and more comfortable, make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect segue. Let's talk about your provider, your
Hmm.
GP. So you mentioned that you had a black male doctor. He talked to you about your A1C, your blood pressure, all your other numbers. What was that conversation like?
Well, what I would say first is that he never made me feel, never condemned me about anything. It was more of a discussion about, like, okay, we need to get a handle on some of this. You can do that um, through diet and exercise. As a matter of fact, he didn't push the GLP-1. I was the one that asked about it. And he kept saying, well, we can try it. And he did submit orders for me to have it probably about a year ago, but it just didn't go anywhere. The medical provider, not the provider, but our insurance kind of denied it initially because of my numbers, because my A1C wasn't really that bad. I was like at a 6.1, I think, somewhere in there. But then the last time that I went, that he was concerned, it went up to like a 6.5, and he was like, eh. So he started to make some more recommendations because he was not happy with the increase. And so that's another conversation that you should have, is about where the numbers are and where they're going. If they're going in the right direction, then you're doing what you need to be doing. But if they're not going in the right direction, then there might need to be something taking place that's a little bit different than what was taking place before. And so that's what happened with me. He decided that, because he was trying to like add statins and stuff like that. I'm like, my whole goal initially was like, I need to get off some of these meds. I didn't want to be, because I'm still on the metformin. I was still, blood pressure med that I'm taking. So my goal is to, get off of all of the meds altogether. And I know that that's probably going to happen at some point,
Yeah.
but this really has helped me to get over the hump. Like I said, the last time I weighed, I'm about 37, 38 pounds down from where I started at the beginning of the school year, September, actually August. I was back up to like 375, 377. Weighed the other day, and I'm about 342 now. So it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I love
It's
that.
slow,
Yeah,
but it's doing. I feel good about it. I just went up to 10 just last week. We're still having the things where they'll order it and it doesn't come in when it's supposed to. So that throws me off my little, when I'm supposed to take my dosages. But I just went up to 10, and I think that kind of jump started things again. Because I was on 7.5 for about 2 or 3 months. So we
and
just went up to 10 just recently.
you're on Mounjaro, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I thought even the whole thing with having to prepare myself, to stick myself and all that thing, I'm thinking about, I was going back to when my grandparents had diabetes, and you had to use those syringes, and I could I don't know if I want to see all that and go there. But it really wasn't bad, to be quite honest. I mean, find a little fleshy part and stick it in. But by the time you're done, you're like, oh, this is over. So, and relatively, my side effects have been very, very mild. I mean, every now and again I'll get nauseous, but I've got a great support system. I've got some good friends that are already on the medication, so they're telling me about the ginger chews and the ginger, and how that kind of helps with that. And I've only had it happen maybe once or twice, but again, it's a small price to pay for where I'm going. And to try to keep myself here for a little longer.
Now, outside of access and costs and time, because a lot of us will focus on doing the job first, because we got to make sure bills are paid and all that stuff is done. One of the main reasons that us as black men don't go to the doctor is because of lack of trust, especially when you have the history of the Tuskegee experiment. And then on the women's side, you have Henrietta Lacks and her DNA being stolen and all of that, and
Yeah.
all these other experiments. How did you navigate that trust? Talking to your doctor, was it easier because he was a black man?
Um, I think him being a man was important for me, but him being a black male doctor really kind of did open the door for me. I felt like I could be a little bit more open with him. Um, we had real candid conversations about where I was, and what things I might need to have to change in order to get to, to be a little bit more healthy. And so I think finding a provider that, again, I talked about this earlier, that you feel confident in, that you feel comfortable with, where you can have those types of conversations is important. Because if we don't feel feel comfortable, then you're not going to be honest, and you got to be honest with these people so you can get to the root of what's going on and find out how you can change things.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Great answer. Great answer. Now let's pivot to your wife. Your wife started her journey first. What
She
was it
did.
like seeing her go on her journey and see her results, and how did that motivate you?
Well, she was very apprehensive. She's gonna get on to me. She's very apprehensive about like sharing it, but I was like, "Honey, you're doing so well. You really look good." And in your mind, you still see yourself as wherever you were.
Yeah.
And so even now that she's lost, I think she's about at her 50-pound mark or something, or somewhere around there. And we were always talking about her non-scale victory. She had a situation today. She was like, "Oh, I cannot wear these pants again." I'm like, "I told you, you don't need those anymore."
Yeah.
But it's okay to part ways with stuff that's just doesn't fit you anymore. So, but I think sometimes in your mind you still see yourself where you were. But it's been slow with her. It's been over a couple of years that she really has kind of dialed in, and she's been the first one that says, I can't, I'm doing Happy Meals because I can't eat all that food. I'll say that I want this, but I can't do it. So, she, we've even dialed in where if we eat out, or if she orders in, she's like, okay, tonight's salad night, we're gonna have salads. So we try to do things in concert with one another to make it a little bit easier for both of us. But yeah, seeing her kind of like just not desire food was like, wow, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
And so she was just like, I can't do it. I just, and she really literally would like, okay, I'm done. I cannot eat anymore. And so when I saw that, I'm thinking, there must be something to this. Now she thought I was being vain, and I just wanted it because it would just jumpstart. She's like, I'm pre-diabetic. That's why I'm on this medication. I said, yes, I do. I do understand that. But I do think that it would be something that would help me to kind of get over it. Because as I get older, it's just been harder. It
Yeah.
just is. Even if I'm doing the right things. But this, when we finally got the right combination, I felt like the doctor. I went to the doctor about a month ago, and the doctor was really impressed with my progress and said that you're moving in the right direction, Kevin, and I like to see that. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I
You're,
was
you're
glad to
doing
hear
you're
that.
doing you're doing great. You're doing great. So
Oh,
is
I'm
there?
not where you are, sir. I'm
No,
not
you
where
don't.
you are, but
You don't need to be. You don't need to be.
yeah,
You were. You just started
right
in
where I need to
September.
be, huh?
Yeah. You just started in
Yeah,
September.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
you'll
yeah.
get there. You'll get to where you need to be. You're right where you need to be at this moment.
Okay,
So
all right.
now, is there any competition between you and your wife? You guys got a little friendly wager?
Well, no,
The kid.
not at this time. I'm
Yeah.
sure she's watching, so I don't know. Maybe the first person that gets the particular uh, uh, number of pounds gone will do something special. We enjoy traveling and doing things like that.
Yeah.
With unfortunately, my mother-in-law just passed away at the end of last year, so
I'm sorry to
we're
hear that.
now no. Thank you very much, but she was a jewel. So we're kind of getting out of that. She and my sister-in-law are kind of working towards managing the whole grief process. So um, you just want to try to get to the next phase in life. We're in that in between stage where we're caretakers and kids are grown but still need you. You know how you are. You know how that goes. And so we're trying to just kind of navigate that too and get through that. And then we can have fun again. We can
Yeah.
have fun again.
Yeah. Now you're down 35 plus since September. Since you started in September,
Hmm.
how is this loss different than? How do you feel compared to when you lost before? Does your body feel better because of the medication? Dealing with the inflammation and all of that
Yeah.
stuff?
I do feel, I'm going to tell you honestly, Charles, I feel stronger.
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with the strength training.
Yeah.
I really feel this time around that, my body's in a better place for, kind of sustaining things that are helping me to kind of recomposition my body. And I know that has to do with being consistent in that area. And again, like I said before, I'm not powerlifting down there. That's not what I do. But, I do, I've got my 20 pounds, my 25 pounds. And it's the resistance and the repetition. And those repetition, the more you do it, the harder it becomes. And so even challenging myself that way has really, really helped to kind of catapult me into a better body situation. I feel this time around, and I think I'm in a better headspace as well.
That's great. Let's take a quick look at your before and
Oh
current.
God, do we have to? Jeez, who's that guy? Can you look at the shirt? I want you to look at the shirt. They tell you to wear stripes because it's
Yeah.
minimizing, but
Yeah.
no, mine. You see what that shirt is doing? Oh
I,
my God,
I
I thought
see.
I was something back in those days.
Was
Sitting in the
was
stands looking at my
was this close
a
to your
high school
largest?
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the neck. Ugh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Check you
That
out here.
was, it was about a week ago.
Yeah. You can
Can
you
you
can
tell the
see.
difference?
Yeah, I can definitely see the difference, man. I can definitely see the
Yeah.
difference. Your
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
frame is slimmer. Your face is slimmer.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. Yeah.
looking good, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to make it happen, Captain.
There's
There
no
we go.
more.
I thought I was doing something in that selfie. My Gorin brother hat.
All right, let's talk about what's to come.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in a year or two?
That's a very good question. I mean, I just take it day by day now. I'm not trying to do anything by leaps and bounds. I know that you have to be consistent and you have to, if it comes off slowly, it's better from what I understand. I know that I can see, I don't want to be crass, but when I take off my clothes, I can see, good Lord, I can see why I need the compression right now because the weight it's changing my body a little bit
Yeah.
in the right way. And so, I can just see that hopefully, my whole goal is to get under 300 pounds. That's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Now, I think the last time I was 300 pounds, maybe I was in like eighth grade, seventh or eighth grade, somewhere in there. So, I would just like to me, that's where I need to be in my mind.
Yeah.
If I could get to 299, I would be victorious because I don't want to be a waif. I don't, that's not what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
but I do want to be strong and I do want to have, be able to, continue to wear clothes that I can get from not going to a big and tall store.
Yeah.
If I need to get something off the rack, I can, and I'm almost there, Right now I'm still in the big and tall, but I'm in the big and tall, small, big and tall. So I'm better.
Now,
couple of X's down.
beyond 300, do you have a specific goal in mind, or is it just 300 and then whatever's after that is gravy?
After that, yeah, it's gravy.
Yeah.
I just, in my mind, that's where I want to, if I can see that number go to that, then I'd be like, wow, then I'd be very, very happy. So
Now, do you have a
that's at
goal?
least for now.
Do you have a goal to do to run a 5K?
Eventually I would like to run a 5K. There's a young man that I follow out of Canada. God, I forget what his name is, but he's well over 300 pounds and he still does running, and he does a great job doing it. And so I'm thinking, well, gosh, if he could do it, but here I am, almost 60. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, my goal is to be able to run Really, I'm going to be quite honest. I do also want to do the Peachtree Road Race, which is something that we hold here in Atlanta every year on the 4th of July. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a goo gobs of friends that do it. It's but I think it's about 13.2 miles or something like that. A lot of people, run and walk it the whole thing. But I do, my goal is, and maybe I can do that by 60 to get at least participate in it. I don't know if I can run the whole thing, but at least participate in it. That would be something I would enjoy doing.
Now, chat. We're gonna come to you here pretty soon, so make sure you have your questions ready. We got just a few questions left for Kevin. So, if there's a man watching right now who is in your position at 388 or higher, what would you tell them going forward if they're thinking about using a GLP-1 or just changing their lifestyle?
I would probably first tell them that it's okay to acknowledge where you are and to be honest with where you are, and to know that there are individuals out there that have done the same thing that you've done, um, and they might find themselves in the same place that you are. And if you can find a community like this community where you have individuals of like mind that are striving to be better, just health wise, they want to be better. Um, Connect with those individuals. There might not be anybody in your small town or your big town that you feel could understand why you feel the way you feel or why you're doing what you need to be doing. But if you can find a person, that's what the one good thing about social. There's a lot of great things about social media, a lot of bad things, but the great things are that there are communities of people that you can connect with and find your tribe,
Yeah.
find those individuals that would support you, or can at least ask questions to find out, okay, what is it that you did that spurred it for you? What made this part of your journey solidify where you felt like, okay, this time I'm gonna make this happen? Or if you try it on your own and you find out that, with all that you're doing, it's not working like you thought it would, then find out what you need. Go to a
Mm.
doctor, see what's going on with your numbers. I think though having those conversations is critical. Find somebody that you, like I said before, that you're comfortable with, that you feel um, that you can be honest with, and put everything out there on the table and talk about it. Just say, look, this is where I am. This is this is an area of my life that I feel like I need help with, and what tools are available to me that would help me in this regard.
Love that answer. That's a great answer. All right, final question from me. If your cousin Charles could see you now,
Wow.
what would he say to you?
Wow. I think he would say, cuz I'm glad that you made some changes, because I want you to have the best life you can possibly with your family and those that love you, and that I love you, and I see you um, going in the right direction and doing the things that you need to do to live your best life.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Here we go. We're gonna head to the chat for some Q and A's. You ready?
Oh gosh, I'm nervous because I've told people to watch tonight, so we'll see.
All right. First up, we have a super chat from my sister, Downsizing Diva, also known as Dee Dee. Thank you for that, Dee Dee. I appreciate you.
Yeah, Diddy.
And she says, "Hey, brother RMZ and guests, I came in late. Thank you for sharing your story. Are you an educator?"
Yes, I am, Didi. I'm an educator. This is my 24th year in education. I'm a middle school teacher, special education. I teach science, social studies, and math. All three.
24 years. 24 years.
24 years. I'm dwindling it down. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So then I'll be able to walk when I want to walk.
yeah. Thank you, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
All right, we got the Mel B. Thank you again, Mel B, for your constant support. I appreciate you. Got to give you an applause. And she wants to know, if you were teaching someone how to approach their journey, what would you say matters more than people realize at the start?
Small, consistent changes. Like I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation today, if you can change something like drinking water as opposed to drinking soda all the time. Am I saying now never to drink another soda? No. Maybe you switch to Coke Zero or Diet Dr. Pepper. You can do those things, but the more water you drink, the more calories you can eat. And I think for men, sometimes if we know that, that kind of like changes something like, whoa, I can have more food if I drink less calories. So making small, sustainable changes, I think that would be key to anybody starting your journey. Small, sustainable changes.
Sorry about that. My dog grabbed something. I had to make sure she didn't chew on it.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Mel B. I appreciate you. All right, next up, we got my man, Heavy on the Jumps. He was last week's guest. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super chat.
I just saw his conversation with you. It was pretty phenomenal. He's fun. His change is massive, man.
Ain't
Wow.
it though? Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, he says RMZ and Darium the GOATs. I appreciate this community and all the men manning up with GLP-1s. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Heavy on the
Yes,
gains, as he
sir.
would say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, let's see. Thank you all for the super chats. Now we are in the questions. See if there's any others. Travel Techie. And she, Travel Techie wants to know, has anyone experienced right shoulder pain while taking tirzepatide? Been reading more about this online. I hadn't heard anything about that.
I've not either. I've not heard anything specifically about right shoulder pain. That's pretty specific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I'm about to look at it. I haven't heard anything about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm assuming they're saying it's a side effect, shoulder pain specifically,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. No, I haven't heard anything about that myself.
All right, Kevin.
Mm,
Kevin wants to know, how do you bounce back after you do a cheat day, or do you do a cheat day?
you can do a cheat day, and if you do, Kevin, would I would suggest is that you chalk it up to say, look, yesterday was yesterday, today is a whole new day, and so you get a clean slate and clean calories, and you start fresh from the next day. What you don't want to do is get in a cycle of beating yourself up so that you're saying, okay, I have a cheat day. Like they say, the cheat day turns into a cheat week, and the cheat week turns into a cheat month. That's what you don't want to do. You want to make sure that, you acknowledge that it happened and then you move forward. Don't beat yourself up, buddy.
Great answer. All right, Dee Dee. Dee Dee's back. Do you have a channel, social media? I want to support you. I'm a retiring elementary teacher. May 29th is my
Yay.
last day. 32 years in the game, going strong. Dee Dee.
Nice, Didi. Yeah, nice. Didi, my all of my social media handles are the same. I'm Kevin underscore J. Kevin is spelled Kevyn. There's a Y where the I should be. Thanks to my mother. Um, Kevin, Kevyn underscore J. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. It's just Kevyn Jefferson, but Facebook's more personal. Um,
Both his Twitter, sorry, not Twitter.
oh, my Twitter, yeah,
Both his TikTok and Instagram are
or
linked in
Kevin
the
J.
description of this video, so you can easily go to the description, click on the link, and follow him.
See, my techie friend is already taking care of all of
Yeah.
that.
All right, Mel B. What I do know is that women get shoulder pain due to perimenopause, lack of estrogen. Don't get me started. But is that specific to tirzepatide or Mounjaro Zepbound, or is it specific to perimenopause?
Therein lies the question. Maybe it has to do with the combination. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
And like you said, we're not doctors, so we can't talk. We can't speak to that.
yeah. All right. And Mel B wants to know: are you considering HRT?
Is that testosterone?
Yeah,
Oh, replacement therapy?
yeah.
I have, I've got a good friend who has spoken to me about that, about going to a doctor and just getting the numbers and running the numbers. I would consider it. I kind of want to go this route first to see if, if again, eliminating some of the weight would help with in some regards first. And then if not, then maybe that would be the next thing that I would consider.
Great answer. I actually just started. I'm in week 2, going
Of
well.
HRT?
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah.
And how are you feeling?
Oh man,
Any
it's.
change?
I'm gonna make a video about it, but so tune in to check that in a
Okay. All
couple weeks.
right.
No,
All right.
no, no.
Hold on. I'll hold on.
No, for real. I actually have been sleeping better. I've noticed.
Ooh.
I do my injections twice a week, 84
Hmm.
hours apart. Um, Monday morning at 6:30 and Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. And I, I noticed that on Thursday night it's hard for me to sleep because I'm juiced. I got energy, and and
Mm.
and that was. And I did my shot yesterday morning, and I was juiced. And last night I woke up at 1 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep. I went to the gym, so that's why I posted the video that I was in the gym at 3 in the
Wow.
morning.
Okay.
So I got the energy. I got my energy back. I'm back in the gym, so it's helping a lot. So we'll see how it goes. A few weeks from now. So I'm just getting started. I say it really doesn't start kicking in until 3 to 6 weeks for most people. So
Now, did you have to go to a different doctor for that
I
particular
went.
situation?
I went to I went to I went to my urologist who was dismissive. So I found a new urologist. So I went to that new urologist, and she sent my prescription in and made it easy. So
Gotcha.
you
Okay.
can go to your urologist or endocrinologist.
Okay. Good to
I'm
know.
trying to see if there's any questions that they didn't put the Q in front of them. I don't. There's a lot of comments in here. A lot of them are hyping you up, saying congratulations. They're proud of you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
We need questions.
yeah. I don't see. I don't see any questions without the Q in front
With
of it.
that.
So I think we got
All
them
right.
all.
Okay.
Let's see,
All
see if
right.
there's any new. There's always when I hit the end button, there's always a few that come in, but it's too late because we're it's closing down at that point. Uh, I see. Heavy on the jump says we need to do a workout collaboration. I meant to get back to your comment. I saw your comment, Adam. So yeah, we'll have to talk about doing something. All right, we have another super chat from Jerlene. Jerlene is a frequent supporter around the community, not just for myself. So I appreciate you, Jerlene. Thank you for your support, and you also get an applause. Appreciate you. And I think that is the end of the questions. Well, Dee Dee calls me Lester Holt, so I always chalk it up to I asked all the questions that they wanted to know, so there was nothing else for them to ask.
Lester Holt. I love
Yeah,
it.
the
I
Lester
love
Holt
it.
of these GLP-1 streets.
You suave like Lester. I can see that.
All right, we got one that just popped in from Nancy. Nancy, thank you. You mentioned you had children. Is this having an effect on how they view your health?
It is, and it's a great effect. They're both very, very supportive. Both of my boys are very supportive, and both are, you know, I want it to be an example. That's a very important thing to. I'd rather not have to preach about health, but to just be an example about making small, sustainable changes that can help you to feel better. And so, if I am if I'm anything as a parent, hopefully I am an example to them that you can make changes at any point of your life. You're not stuck. You're not relegated to wherever you are in life. You can always make changes. You can always learn. As an educator, I feel like we're lifelong learners, and so as I'm learning this as I go, hopefully they're learning something from it as well.
Great answer. I got my first thumbs down. Somebody
What?
hating. Yeah, somebody hating on me, man. I'm gonna have to send Darium after him. Darium is the Liam
There you
Neeson of this
go.
of this of this
There.
community.
Yeah.
So he gonna have to hunt you down and find you.
Darren is going to be your bodyguard too.
Yeah. All right, we got another one. 3 tips you would give someone new on the journey. Thank you, D, for sending that question in.
That's a great question. Number one, start small. Like I said before, start with something small that you can sustain. Like I said, you can walk. If you can walk 5 or 10 minutes after dinner, do that. You know, and then that 10 minutes maybe turns into 20, or you walk a couple of months and then it turns into a half an hour. So start small. Number two, be consistent. Whatever you start, do it so that you can be consistent with it. You can do it more than once or twice, maybe 3 times a week. And then I think number three is give yourself some grace. It's not going to happen overnight. Some days you'll want to, some days you won't want to, and give yourself some grace is that if that does occur. It's not a perfect, and it's not linear. It's not a perfect journey, and it's not a linear journey. It's up and down. So if you start small, if you start with continue to be consistent, and then if you give yourself some grace, you should be on the right track.
Man, you're dropping some pearls, man. Love this name here. Wobble Wobble J.
That's my son.
Oh, love that. What have you learned about yourself after losing the weight?
That I can. That if you stick with a plan, things can work out for you. So, not that it's easy. Things that are worthwhile never are easy, but it's good to know that if you stick with it, if you're consistent about the things that you do towards making changes, that things will change, and you'll see the results.
Great answer. All right. Well, I think we have come to the end. Kevin, I want
Well, you
to.
made it very easy, sir. You made it very, very easy.
No, you did. You're a great conversationalist.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on and telling your story. Like I said before, I hope that men out there can find an inspiration from your story and the stories before yours. As we keep building this platform for men to have these discussions out in the open. And
Yes, definitely.
we need to normalize having these discussions and talking about our
Right.
health, not just physical health, but mental health. We need to talk about the whole
Indeed, all
gamut.
of it. Right.
So
The entire person, the wholeness of it all.
yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to the chat for showing up tonight. Thank you for the super chats that everyone that gave a super chat. I appreciate you. But I always got to wrap up every show with a call to action. So here we go. As I always say, the first thing I want to talk about is prostate cancer. Screening is no longer necessary to do a digital rectal exam. It's a simple blood test, and most likely it's going to be covered by your insurance. For most men, screening should begin at the age of 50. And if you're a Black man with a family history, such as a father or a brother who has had prostate cancer, screening should begin at 45. However, Black men with a family history should consider starting at 40. Why is that? And that's because Black men are 80% more likely to develop prostate cancer and twice as likely to die from it. And that's largely because we don't detect it until it's too late. Early detection is critical to stop it from spreading. Prostate cancer often has no symptoms at all until it has advanced. Second, we need to get colorectal cancer screening. Think about Chadwick Bosewick. Colorectal cancer is affecting younger and younger people. Early detection saves lives. There is approximately one diagnosis every 25 minutes in people under 50. It is now the leading cause of cancer death for men under 50 and one of the leading causes overall in that age group. Among the top 5 cancer related deaths, it is the only one that is increasing in younger adults. Men are more likely to be diagnosed at a younger age and more likely to die from it. Approximately 75% of patients under 50 are diagnosed with advanced stage cancer, that is stage 3 or 4. Screening reduces mortality by up to 60%. Colon cancer is one of the most preventable cancers, but only if you go get screened. Gentlemen, take your health seriously. No one's coming to save us. We have to show up for ourselves and for each other because iron sharpens iron. Thank you so much. We will be back here next week with another Kevyn. We're doing back to back Kevyns. Big Kev No More will be here next week to tell his story. Another college athlete who put on weight afterwards. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with him. So we'll have a lot in common. So Kev, thank you for showing up tonight again. Chat, thank you for showing up. And we will see you all back here next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you again.